Hi, today we are looking at section 1.6, which is solving investment portfolio problems. So with this, we'll go over some new terminology, but essentially mathematically we'll be doing essentially the same stuff as we were doing in the previous section. So we'll be using our TVM solvers on our Texas Instruments TI-83s or TI-84s. Except for now, we'll usually have more than one value that we'll be solving for each question. So we may have to do the TVM solver a couple times or a few times per question. So some definitions first. Portfolio is one or more investments held by an individual investor or a financial organization. Rate of return is a way of measuring an increase in an investment over a specified period of time. Now, we can also mathematically represent this. Our rate of return is our future value minus our present value divided by our present value, and then we multiply it by 100, add a percentage sign, and we have our rate of return as a percentage. Now, like I was always saying, for most of the section, we're doing two or more things with our TVM solver, and then in most cases, we are adding them together. So our first example, Jane purchased a $500 Canada Savings Bond at the end of each year for 10 years. The first 5 Canada Savings Bonds earned interest at a rate of 3% compounded annually. The next 5 earned interest at a rate of 2.5% compounded annually. How much did she have at the end of 10 years? Okay, so we'll use our TVM solver twice for this. Once for the first 5 years where Jane is getting 3% compounded annually, and then we'll also use it for the last 5 years where she's getting 2.5 compounded annually, but we'll also utilize our compound interest formula that we had from earlier on in the chapter. So let's start with the first 5 years. So once again, we'll start out by writing out what exactly goes into our TVM solver. So we have N, I, PV, PMT, FB, P/Y, C/Y, and PMT is going to be at end. Okay, so purchases a $500 Canada Savings Bond. So therefore, payments are going to be negative 500. Now, first 5 years, it's at one interest rate, and then the next, it's a different one. Now, also says that this is how much we pay for year. So that's one payment per year. And we've got 3% interest for the first 5 years. Now, because we only have at 3% for first 5 years, this first calculation will just be doing with the first 5 years. Now, it also says it's compounded annually, so our compounding periods per year is 1. So our N would be essentially 1 times 5, because we've got one compounding period per year times 5 years. Our present value will start out at 0, and we'll solve for a future value. So exiting our TVM menu by selecting second and quit, and then going apps, finance, and select our future value under the TVM solver, gives us $2,654.568. Now, there's a reason why I kept some extra decimals here. That's because essentially we still have more calculations to do with this, because this isn't the total amount that we end up with from those first 5 years, because this will still collect interest for another 5 years. So what we can do at this point is just throw this into our compound interest formula from earlier in the chapter. So we've got A is equal to P times 1 plus I over N to the power of NT. So that gives us our amount is equal to our principal. So 2,654.568 times 1 plus 0.03 divided by 1 to the power of 1 times our remaining time, which would be 5 years. And once we put that in our calculator, that should tell us that these first 5 bonds at the end of 10 years will be worth $3,077.37. Okay, so that's what our first 5 bonds are equal to. Now we'll do the same thing, or some of the same, for essentially getting this for our last 5 years. So we have N, we have I, PV, PMT, FV, P/Y, C/Y, and payment. Now for these, our N is going to essentially be the same as it was for here because it's compounded annually for the last 5 years, so our N is going to be 5. Our interest rates drop to 2.5. Our present value, we'll put in 0. Payment was -500. We're going to be solving for future value. Payments per year is 1, compounding periods per year is 1. So we'll exit out of the TVM solver, go back in to Finance app and select the TVM for future value. And it gives us $2,628.16. So to get our total, we will add up these two. And we should end up with $5,705.33. Or sorry, 53 cents. Okay, so we'll do another example. You invest $5,000 in a guaranteed investment certificate that earns 3.7% compounded semi-annually. You also deposit $100 a week in a savings account that earns you 1.5% compounded weekly. What is our rate of return after 10 years? Okay, so in this case, we have 2 different investments. This first one where we invest $5,000 that earns 3.7% compounded semi-annually. This one doesn't have payments in it. So this one we will calculate using our compound interest formula. So A is equal to P times 1 plus I over N to the power of I, or sorry, to the power of NT. Fill out our information. So A is equal to 5,000 times 1 plus 0.037 divided by 2 because it's compounded semi-annually to a power of 2 times 10 because it's invested for 10 years. Putting that in our calculator, we should end up with a final value for this part of our investment of $7,214.24. For the second part, we're depositing $100 a week into a savings account that earns 1.5% compounded weekly over 10 years. So essentially, this one will use our TVM solver. So we've got N, I, PV, PMT, FV, P/Y, C/Y, and then payment at end. Okay, so we deposit $100 a week. So our payment is -100. Our present value we're going to take as 0. And we're depositing this weekly, so our payments per year would be 52. And our interest rate's 1.5%. It's compounded weekly, so therefore compounding periods per year is 52. Our future value is what we're solving for. Our N is in 10 years, so it's compounded 52 times a year times 10 years, so that would be an N value of 520. Now that we have this, we'd exit out of this part of the TVM solver, solve for our future value, and we get future value that is $56,093.83. So now we need to combine these totals to get our total investment, or our total investment's worth. So that would be $7,214.24 plus $56,093.83. And that gives us $63,308.06. Now that's our total that we ended up with, but to figure out our rate of return, we also need to know how much we invested. So our total invested would equal this initial $5,000 that we put in, plus we paid up $100 520 times. So our total invested is $57,000. Now, if we put that in the rate of return formula we had earlier, which was our future value essentially minus our amount invested, or present value, over our present value, which the present value is essentially how much we've invested. We get $63,308.06 minus $57,000 divided by 57,000. And it gives us a return of 11%.